Father's Day used to begin with noise, tiny feet racing down the hallway, the smell of burnt toast drifting from the kitchen because Lily insisted on cooking by herself. Construction paper cards with crooked letters spelling asterisk a best daddy ever. Asterisk glitter that never quite left the carpet. This year it began with silence. The house felt larger than it was. Too clean, too still. Clock ticked louder than usual, like it was reminding me that time keeps moving whether your heart is ready or not. I made coffee for one. I told myself I wasn't expecting a call. I lied at 11:52 a.m. My phone lit up. Asterisk asterisk Lily. Asterisk asterisk, my heart did something painful and hopeful at the same time. Hi, sweetheart. I answered, trying to keep my voice steady. Her tone was formal, careful, like she was speaking to a stranger she didn't fully trust. Can you come by Mom's house today? She asked. Around 1, Sandra's house, the house that used to be ours. Is everything okay? I asked. It's Father's Day. She replied flatly. We're having something small. I swallowed, I'll be there. After we hung up, I sat on the edge of my bed for a long time. We hadn't been close since the divorce 3 years ago. Sandra and I had ended things quietly on paper, irreconcilable differences, the lawyer had called it. What that really meant was exhaustion, long work hours, arguments about money, pride that grew sharper than love. But through it all, I had never stopped being Lily's father. At least, I thought I hadn't. I drove to Sandra's house with a small velvet box on the passenger seat. Inside was the silver bracelet Lily had once pressed against the jewelry store window when she was 16. When I graduate college, you'll buy me this, right, Dad? She had teased. I'll buy you too, I'd promised. She never brought it up again after the divorce, but I remembered. I always remembered. When I pulled into the driveway, I noticed the decorations immediately. Blue and gold balloons tied to the mailbox, streamers across the porch railing. Through the window, I saw a banner stretched across the living room wall. Asterisk asterisk best dad ever. Asterisk asterisk for a brief, foolish second, my chest swelled. Maybe this was a peace offering. Maybe the front door opened before I could knock. Sandra stood there, polished, composed, wearing the same expression she wore in court, controlled and unreadable. You made it, she said. Yes, I replied. Lily invited me. A pause. Then she stepped aside. Inside, the house was full. Neighbors. A few of Sandra's relatives. Laughter. Music playing softly. And in the center of it all stood Richard. Richard, with his tailored shirt and confident grin. Richard, who entered Lily's life 6 months after I left. Richard, who began appearing in every family photo shortly after. He was holding a wrapped gift. Lily ran to him first. She looked beautiful, older, sharper, distant in a way that still startled me. Happy Father's Day, Dad, she said brightly, wrapping her arms around Richard's waist. Dad, the word hit me harder than I expected. Richard kissed the top of her head. Thank you, sweetheart. Sweetheart. That used to be mine. Lily turned then and saw me. The warmth vanished from her face like someone had flipped a switch. The room grew quieter. I stepped forward gently, holding out the velvet box. Hi, Lily. She didn't move. I don't understand why you're here, she said loudly enough for the room to hear. A nervous chuckle came from someone near the kitchen. I came because you asked me to, I answered softly. Her jaw tightened. You're not my dad anymore. The words were sharp. Rehearsed. You're just Mom's ex-husband. The air left my lungs. I noticed Sandra watching from the corner. Silent, observing, not correcting her. Lily, I said carefully, no matter what happened between your mother and me, I am still your father. Her eyes flashed. You don't get to say that, she snapped. You left. You chose your job over us, over me. That's not. Before I could finish, her hand came out of nowhere. The slap echoed, loud, clean, final. My head turned slightly with the force. The sting on my cheek was immediate, but it was nothing compared to the sound of collective gasps filling the room. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Lily's chest was heaving. Her eyes were bright, not with tears, but with fury. You don't get to show up here pretending to be something you're not, she said. He's my real dad, she pointed to Richard. Richard didn't stop her, didn't correct her, didn't look uncomfortable. He just placed a possessive hand on her shoulder. And in that moment, something inside me cracked, not loudly, not dramatically, but in a slow, splintering way. I could have shouted. I could have defended myself. I could have exposed every late night call unanswered, every weekend visitation rescheduled, every birthday I waited outside a restaurant only to be told plans had changed. But I didn't. Instead, I set the velvet box down on the gift table beside Richard's presence. My voice, when I spoke, surprised even me. Calm, even. I have never stopped being your father, I said, even when you stopped being my daughter. Her face flinched. That one landed. I wasn't proud of it, but it was true. I turned to Sandra. You should have told her. She didn't respond. Richard cleared his throat, stepping slightly forward. Maybe it's best if you leave. Ah, there it was. The quiet removal, the final replacement. I looked at Lily one last time. She wouldn't meet my eyes. I hope one day you want the truth, I said gently. I'll be ready when you do. And then I walked out. No shouting, no scene, just the sound of the front door closing behind me. The driveway felt longer than before. My hands shook as I unlocked the car. I sat there for a full minute, staring at the steering wheel. Father's Day, I let out a breath that felt like it had been trapped in my chest for years. Maybe this was it. Maybe this was the moment I finally let go. My phone buzzed. I ignored it. It buzzed again and again. Lily, I stared at her name on the screen. 5 minutes ago, she had called me Mom's ex-husband. Now she was calling me like her world was on fire. I answered. She was crying so hard she could barely breathe. Dad. The word shattered something inside me. Dad, I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. In the background, I could hear shouting. Richard's voice. Angry, sharp, Sandra's voice, panicked. What happened? I asked, my heart already racing. There was a pause. Then Lily whispered the words that would change everything. He lied. And just like that, Father's Day wasn't over. It was only beginning, he lied. Lily's voice trembled through the phone, no longer sharp, no longer proud, just small. In the background, I could hear chaos, a door slamming, Sandra shouting something I couldn't make out. Richard's voice, louder than before, edged with a tone I had never heard in front of guests. The mask had slipped. Slow down, I said carefully, gripping the steering wheel. Tell me what happened. There was a shaky inhale. When you left, he thought you were gone, she whispered. He thought you wouldn't come back. My heart tightened. Gone. I went upstairs after you left, she said. I felt weird. I don't know. I was angry, but something you said. Her voice cracked. Even when you stopped being my daughter. It kept replaying in my head. I closed my eyes briefly. Down the line, something shattered glass, maybe. Richard started laughing downstairs. She continued. Not loud, just smug. And then he said, well, that should settle the trust fund issue once and for all. My breath stopped. Trust fund, I had opened it the week Lily was born. Every overtime shift, every consulting contract, every missed vacation, it all went there. Not because I was rich, I wasn't, but because I wanted her future secure no matter what happened between her mother and me. I had never told her. It wasn't a weapon. It wasn't leverage. It was simply love quietly stored. What did he mean? I asked slowly. I didn't know what he was talking about, Lily said, so I asked him. Silence on the line, thick, heavy. He told me not to worry about it, that adult finances were complicated, that you weren't responsible enough to manage things properly. A bitter smile touched my lips. Responsible? I remembered the nights I slept in my office chair because taking another project meant another deposit into her account. I remembered Sandra accusing me of caring more about numbers than about dinners. You deserve a father who's present, she had once said. I had thought building security for our child was presence. Maybe I had been wrong, or maybe I had been naive. What happened next? I asked. Lily's breathing steadied slightly, but her voice hardened. I went into Mom's office. I knew she kept documents in the filing cabinet. I've seen her put papers in there. Of course she had. Sandra was meticulous. I found it. Lily whispered, my name, a trust agreement, your name listed as primary contributor, millions over the years, not millions. But enough for college, for a home, for a safety net, for years. She continued, her voice rising. They told me you stopped paying, that you fought child support, that you cared more about your career. I felt something cold settle in my chest. I never missed a payment, I said quietly. I know that now. She choked. The statements were all there. Every month, every deposit, even extra transfers on my birthdays. Yes. On every birthday, I added a little more. Not because she asked, because she didn't. There was a long pause. Then she said something that made my hands tremble. He told Mom that if I fully cut you off, you'd eventually remove me from the trust. I gripped the phone tighter. What? He said if I publicly treated him like my real dad, it would make things cleaner legally. That courts look at emotional abandonment. I laughed not because it was funny, but because it was so absurd it hurt. I had never abandoned her. I had been slowly erased. Did your mother say anything? I asked. Lily hesitated. She said it was for the best, that you'd moved on, that I needed stability. Stability. The word tasted bitter. Stability meant fewer arguments, fewer reminders of a failed marriage. It meant rewriting the narrative so no one had to feel guilty. It was easier to make me the villain. I confronted him. Lily continued. I asked why he cared about the trust at all. And my voice was steady, but my pulse wasn't. He said, she swallowed, because I'm the one who's been here. I'm the one who deserves to benefit from it, too. The world narrowed. There it was, not love, not protection, entitlement. He said, once you were completely out of my life, we could consolidate assets. Her voice shook with disgust. He actually used that phrase, consolidate assets, as if she were a business deal, as if I were a barrier to profit. And when I told him that was disgusting, she continued, he lost his temper. I could hear it even now, the faint echo of shouting. He said you were manipulating me. She whispered that you probably staged today to make him look bad. Staged. I almost wished I had. At least then the humiliation would have served a strategy. Mom tried to calm him down, she said. But then I asked her how long she'd known about the trust. Another pause. She didn't answer. Silence can confess more than words ever could. I asked her if you really stopped calling. Lily said, if you really chose work over me, and my voice felt thin. She said, you called more than I knew, that sometimes she didn't tell me because I needed space. The air left my lungs. Space. I had begged for visitation adjustments when Lily canceled. I had texted on holidays with no reply. I had convinced myself she was busy, growing up, choosing independence. I had never considered she wasn't receiving everything. You remember when I stopped coming to your apartment on weekends? She asked suddenly. Yes, of course I remembered. I had waited by the window those Fridays, ordered her favorite pizza, left the porch light on longer than necessary. You told me you didn't want to. I said quietly. I never said that. She whispered. The words landed like a second slap. I was told you were traveling, that you said it was too much work. I closed my eyes. How carefully it had all been done. Not dramatic, not explosive, just small, consistent distortions, a delayed message here, a twisted explanation there. Enough to reshape memory. I slapped you. Lily said suddenly, her voice breaking completely now, in front of everyone. I called you Mom's ex-husband. I didn't respond. I thought you abandoned me, she cried. I thought he stepped up. And now, I asked gently, I feel sick. She whispered. I defended him. I humiliated you. There was movement on the other end, footsteps, a door opening. Richard's voice cut through, harsh and stripped of charm. Give me that phone. No. Lily snapped. There was a scuffle, a thud. Stop manipulating her. Richard shouted into the air, not directly at me, but close enough. I'm not manipulating anyone. I said calmly into the receiver. "Stay out of this." He barked. For the first time, I heard fear beneath his anger. He wasn't losing a daughter. He was losing control. The line crackled. "Dad," Lily said desperately, reclaiming the phone. "Please don't hang up. I'm here. I'm coming to you," she said. "I need to see you. I need to fix this. Fix. Some things don't fix easily. Trust once cracked doesn't snap back into place, but hearing her call me Dad again, not sarcastically, not performatively, stirred something fragile inside me. "Are you safe?" I asked. "Yes," she said quickly. "I'm leaving. I can't stay here right now." Behind her, Sandra's voice pleaded, "Lily, don't be dramatic." Dramatic. No, this wasn't drama. This was exposure. Truth rarely arrives gently. It tears through illusions, and when it does, everything shakes. "I'm sorry," Lily whispered again. I was so cruel. I touched the faint sting still lingering on my cheek. Cruel, yes, but also misled. "I'll be at home." I told her, "Drive carefully." There was one last pause. Then, softer than before, "Happy Father's Day, Dad." The line went quiet. I sat there in my car, staring at Sandra's house. Through the window, I could see movement, shadows arguing, a celebration dissolving into accusation. The banner still hung across the wall. "Best Dad ever." It fluttered slightly in the air from the open door. But something had shifted. For years, I thought revenge meant exposing lies, fighting in court, demanding apologies. Today, I realized something else. Sometimes revenge is simply letting truth speak when lies grow too confident. And inside that house, truth had just cleared its throat. I barely remember the drive home. My hands were steady on the wheel, but my mind wasn't. It replayed everything in fragments: the slap, the word *ex-husband*, the way Richard's hand rested possessively on her shoulder, the tremble in Lily's voice when she said *he lied. By the time I pulled into my driveway, the sky had shifted. The bright afternoon sun had softened into something heavier, like the day itself was holding its breath. I stepped out of the car slowly. For a moment, I just stood there, staring at my front door. This house had once echoed with Lily's laughter on weekends. She used to complain that my couch was too stiff and that I never bought the right cereal. She'd sit cross-legged on the living room floor, painting her nails while talking about boys I pretended not to dislike. The porch light still worked. I had always left it on for her. Old habits don't die just because hearts break. I had just placed my keys into the lock when I heard it. Tires screeching. I turned. Lily's car swerved into my driveway too fast, braking hard enough that the front bumper nearly kissed my mailbox. The engine hadn't even stopped when her door flew open. She ran toward me, not walked, ran. Her mascara had bled down her cheeks. Her hair was disheveled. Her chest heaved like she'd sprinted a mile instead of driven 3 blocks. "Dad," the word cracked. I froze. 5 minutes ago, I was Mom's ex-husband. Now I was Dad again. She didn't slow down. She reached me, grabbed the front of my shirt like she used to, when she was little and afraid of thunderstorms. "I'm so sorry," she choked, and then, before I could react, she dropped to her knees on the pavement. My heart slammed against my ribs. "Lily, get up," I said immediately, glancing around. A neighbor across the street had already paused mid-lawn, mowing to stare. "No," she sobbed, "not until you forgive me." Her hands clutched at my wrists, shaking. "I slapped you," she cried. "I called you something you're not. I hurt you on Father's Day." Hearing it spoken aloud made it heavier. "Yes," I said quietly, "you did. The truth hung between us. I could have softened it, pretended it didn't matter. But pretending is what broke us in the first place." She bowed her head. "I deserve that. You deserve honesty," I replied. Her shoulders trembled. "I thought you left us," she whispered. "Mom said you chose work over me, that you were tired of fighting. Richard said you stopped trying. I believed them. I defended him." Her voice cracked harder on the last word. I crouched down so we were eye level. "I never stopped trying," I said. "But sometimes when someone controls the story, they control the outcome." Her eyes searched mine desperately. like she was trying to reconcile the man in front of her with the version she'd been told. "Why didn't you fight harder?" she asked, not accusing, just broken. I let out a slow breath, because every time I pushed, it was framed as me causing chaos. I admitted. "Court battles would have dragged you through stress. I thought giving you peace was better than winning." "Peace," she cried. "That wasn't peace. That was manipulation." "Yes," I said gently, but I didn't know how deep it went. Tears streamed down her face again. "I humiliated you," she whispered. "Everyone saw it. I saw your face, and I still did it. I remembered the sting." The silence in the room, the weight of strangers' eyes. I was angry. I admitted, and I was hurt. She flinched at the word hurt. "But I never stopped loving you," I added. That broke her. She leaned forward and wrapped her arms around me, clinging like she used to after nightmares. "I don't deserve you," she said into my chest. "That's not how being someone's child works," I replied softly. We stayed there for a long moment, father and daughter kneeling in a driveway, rebuilding something fragile. Finally, I helped her stand. "Come inside," I said. She hesitated. Are you going to cut me off?" she asked quietly. The question told me exactly what Richard had planted in her mind. "Is that what he said would happen?" I asked. She nodded slowly. "He said if I disrespected you long enough, you'd remove me from the trust, that you were waiting for an excuse." I almost laughed, not out of humor, but disbelief. "I didn't build that for obedience," I said. "I built it for your future." Her face crumpled again. "I chose him over you," she whispered. "No." I corrected gently. "You chose the version of the truth you were given." We stepped inside. The house felt different now, no longer empty, but charged. She walked into the living room like someone entering a memory museum. Her eyes scanned the bookshelves, the framed photo of us at her high school graduation, the old couch she used to complain about. "You kept everything," she said softly. I didn't see a reason not to. She turned to me. "Richard isn't who I thought he was," she said, steadier now. When I confronted him about the trust, he didn't deny it. He said it was practical to plan long-term, that marriages combine assets. I raised an eyebrow. "Marriage," she swallowed. "He proposed last month. The words landed heavily, and you said yes. I thought he protected us," she admitted. "I thought he stepped up when you stepped away." Pain flared briefly, but I swallowed it. "And now, I don't know who he is," she said. When I told him I was coming here, he grabbed my arm. My jaw tightened. "Did he hurt you?" "No," she said quickly. "Not like that," but his grip wasn't gentle. A silence passed between us, this one different, protective. "You don't have to go back there tonight," I said. She looked relieved and ashamed at the same time. "I can't believe I believed them," she murmured. "They're your family." I said. "You trusted them." "I should have trusted you." Trust. Such a simple word, such a fragile thing. She reached into her purse suddenly and pulled something out. The velvet bracelet box. I grabbed it before I left. She said, her voice trembling again. "You still remembered." "Of course I did." She opened it slowly, staring at the silver bracelet inside. "You promised me this when I was 16, she whispered. "I keep my promises." She looked up at me, and this time there was no confusion in her eyes. "Only realization. I don't want revenge," she said suddenly. "I just want my dad back." The irony almost made me smile. For years I had wanted justice, recognition, acknowledgement, but standing there, watching my daughter unravel the lies she'd been fed, I realized something powerful. Revenge wasn't cutting her off. Revenge wasn't suing. Revenge wasn't public humiliation. The sweetest revenge was simple, living well, standing steady, letting truth dismantle deception on its own. "I'm not going anywhere," I told her. Her lower lip trembled. "I don't expect you to forgive me instantly," she said. "I don't deserve that." "You're right," I said honestly. She nodded, accepting it. "But forgiveness isn't a switch," I continued. "It's a process." A small, fragile hope flickered in her eyes. "Can I stay?" she asked quietly. I looked at her, really looked at her. Not the angry young woman from earlier. Not the manipulated daughter, just my child. "Yes," I said. She stepped forward and hugged me again, tighter this time, like she was afraid I might disappear. Outside, the sun dipped lower. Across town, the Father's Day banner still hung in a house where illusions were cracking. But here, on this quiet street, something far more important was happening. A daughter who once slapped her father was now clinging to him. And for the first time in years, the word Dad didn't feel stolen. It felt restored. Lily stayed the night. Not as a guest, not as someone visiting out of obligation. She stayed like she used to when she was little, curled up on the right side of the couch, wrapped in the gray blanket she once claimed was itchy, but now held like armor. I didn't sleep much, not because I was angry, but because I understood something fragile was happening. Truth had cracked the surface. Now we had to decide what to build in its place. The next morning, sunlight poured through the kitchen window as I made coffee. 2 cups, the sound alone felt like healing. Lily walked in slowly, her eyes swollen but clearer than the day before. "I texted Mom," she said quietly, "and she says I'm being manipulated, that you're turning me against them." I stirred my coffee calmly. "And what do you think?" She held my gaze. "I think if the truth turns me against someone, that's not manipulation." A small, sad smile tugged at my lips. She was thinking for herself now. That was all I had ever wanted. 3 days later, she moved the rest of her belongings out of Sandra's house. Richard wasn't there when she packed, Sandra was. There were no screaming matches, no dramatic scenes. Just tension. "I was trying to protect you," Sandra insisted. "From what?" Lily asked. "From instability." Lily didn't raise her voice. "Mom, stability built on lies isn't stability." Sandra had no answer for that. A week later, Lily sat across from me at the dining table with a stack of documents between us. "The trust papers," I slid them toward her. "You should read everything." She did, page by page, deposit by deposit. She saw the transfers on her birthdays, the larger sums during her college years, the notes I'd written in the margins for the financial advisor. Asterisk for her first apartment, asterisk asterisk for emergencies, asterisk asterisk for when she wants to start something of her own. Asterisk at one point, she covered her mouth and began to cry silently. "You never told me," she whispered. "It wasn't meant to earn points." I replied, "It was meant to protect you." She shook her head slowly. "He wanted access to this. Yes. He said once we were married, we could simplify everything." There it was again, that language of ownership. Assets, consolidation, simplification. Not once had he said asterisk future asterisk. Not once had he said asterisk her asterisk. She ended the engagement 2 days later. "Richard didn't beg," he threatened. "You're throwing away stability." He told her coldly. She surprised both of us with her reply. "No," she said evenly, "I'm choosing integrity." He tried one last tactic. "You'll regret choosing him over your real family." Lily didn't flinch. "He is my real family." And just like that, the illusion shattered completely. I didn't need to expose Richard publicly. I didn't need to sue. I didn't need to shout. Truth did the work. Friends began to notice his temper slipping. Business partners heard rumors. Sandra's once carefully curated image of the perfect blended family quietly unraveled. And I did nothing. That was the revenge, silence, composure, refusal to retaliate, because when someone builds power through deception, the most devastating thing you can do is refuse to play. One evening, about a month later, Lily came home from work and found me sitting on the porch. She sat beside me. "I've been thinking," she said. "That's usually dangerous." I teased gently. She smiled, really smiled, for the first time in weeks. "I want to learn how to manage the trust properly," she said. "Not just inherit it, understand it." Pride swelled in my chest. "Then we'll set conditions," I replied. Her eyebrows lifted slightly. "Conditions, yes," I said calmly. "Financial education, independent advisory meetings, no shared access with any future partner without legal protections." She nodded immediately. "No one touches it but me." "Good," I said. It wasn't punishment. It was empowerment. Sweet revenge isn't destruction. It's elevation. Months passed. Healing wasn't instant. We had difficult conversations. She asked hard questions. I answered honestly, even when the answers made me look flawed. Yes, I worked too much. Yes, I avoided court battles because I hated conflict. Yes, I should have pushed harder in some areas. Rebuilding trust meant accountability on both sides. And slowly, brick by brick, we rebuilt something stronger than before. Not the naive closeness of childhood, but the conscious loyalty of adults. On my birthday, early in the morning, I heard movement in the kitchen. I walked out to find Lily standing there with a small cake, slightly crooked, frosting uneven. She looked nervous. I made it myself, she admitted. It might taste questionable. I laughed softly. I've survived worse. She handed me a card. No decorations, no audience, no performance, just us. Inside, in her handwriting, were the words, "Happy Father's Day to my real dad, the one who never stopped being one. I'm sorry it took me so long to see it." My throat tightened. She looked up at me anxiously. "I don't expect you to forget what I did," she said, "but I hope one day you won't feel it when you look at me." I stepped forward and hugged her. "Tite, I don't see the slap anymore," I said quietly. "I see the girl who came back." She broke then, not from guilt this time, but from relief. Outside, the world moved on as usual. Sandra and Richard faded into distance, not because I destroyed them, but because they destroyed their own credibility. That's the thing about truth. It doesn't shout. It waits. And when it rises, it doesn't need revenge. It simply replaces the lie. The following Father's Day was quiet again. No balloons, no banners. Just a knock at the door. Lily stood there holding 2 cups of coffee. "Morning, Dad," she said casually. Dad, no hesitation, no confusion, no performance, just certainty. And in that simple word, I found something far more powerful than revenge. I found restoration.